So it must have been you had to sign up to rent one. But anyway, he went out and he never came home. And sad to say, we all kind of breathed a sigh of relief, even though, apart from myself, everyone was indulging in. But I was like 2 years older than everyone else, and I'd been in the army, and I didn't have any time for and then when I got into bands, and there was always one person somewhere, who had some kind of issue and would never turn up and everything, ready to rehearse, and where's Fred too? Oh well, he's waiting on a street corner. Someone's gonna, Lou Reed told you all about it, and it's just a drag, and stuff. What was I on about then? Oh yeah, and so anyway, oh yeah, so two things. Anyway, Holly never came home one night, and he had a guitar, and but one night he wanted to emulate his hero, Jimi Hendrix, by playing the guitar. He would try and play along with it, and he's just got this out of tune acoustic because there's only one person in the whole damn block of flats who knew how to tune a guitar. And Steve used to lock his door, because if you can tune a guitar, never admit to it, because everyone's just saying, "Can you tune this for us, please? I've got an idea for a song," And we go out and they had open mic nights and stuff, and we were playing concerts and stuff, and he'd just be there, He was like 10 minutes late on stage because he was trying to tune, everyone's guitars up. He was a nice guy. I hope you made it through, Steve. These past 40 years. And, oh yeah, so Holly decided to play his guitar with his teeth. The guitar lost 4 strings. And I think Holly must have lost most of his teeth as well. On reflection, it's a good job he didn't decide to set light to his guitar and just fry us all and everything. So I kind of inherited his guitar, but it only had the 2 strings on it, which were the A and the D strings. So I wrote, I don't think I'm going to smile ever again, on the A and D strings. And it still doesn't sound too bad these days, actually, although you can utilise the other 4 now, or certainly the bottom line as well. It makes a good counter melody if you play the bottom A. And that was the first song I wrote as a song, because although I had some lyrics up until that point, that I was trying to get Steve to teach me to play the guitar, but I'm pretty much unteachable, so he just said, "No, just go away. I'll lend you my guitar," he said, and so I had to learn to play it upside down, and I can still play a right-handed guitar left-handed today by playing upside down. And because you have to make the chords awkward, so C becomes this. So all your guitar set, that's how you play C. Obviously this is restrung, and then you have to go up one side. And G was really easy because I could just make a claw. I didn't have to do any of this stuff, And E was lovely and easy, But D was no fun because D was at the top then, As you imagine those thin strings were at the top. Why am I doing it on a restrung guitar? So I wrote the lyrics and then put the music to it, to that. So there. The next one is Marie Therese. That's just a simple love song. I was in a duet with a guy called Andy. Better not give too many names away. There are some songs on YouTube. Tammy's song. What other songs did I write for us to do? I don't know what to do now. Oh, haven't I paid the price for loving you yet? Everything's gone to pieces since you got the sweetest rose. I'm trying to sing like Andy does. He had the voice like you can't imagine, spellbinding. And it was lovely to hear someone singing my songs, in that voice. I just wanted to take a back seat at the time. I didn't want to do another band, but I think we probably wrote some of those songs. Actually, I remember being in this chair here. Well, there was a different 3-piece and him sitting there one night. We were watching a film on there, and he wanted me to play the electric guitar. He'd come round and put this electric guitar. I don't know, I was a antsy little thing in those days, I guess. And I said, no, this electric guitar was just sitting there. So I was writing songs for Andy to sing to someone, knowing that he had a lovely wife sitting at home. kind of like Paul McCartney wrote Hey Jude. I mean, if you really believe that he wrote that about Julian, then, you know, I'm happy to say the Brooklyn Bridge and Mount Kilimanjaro. He might think that he did, but if you're a songwriter, then you know. And so I just wanted to write that song for her, just a song of support for her. But it's a song of support for anyone who's been left at home while their partner is somewhere else. What's next up here? Small Town Blues. Small Town Blues. That's a nice song. Play. That really is a parable. I mean, that is a disguised parable. So I took the characters, made them caricatures almost and stuff, and then condensed it down and then shook it up like a snow globe. And while the pieces were still flickering around inside there, I wrote the song about it there. It used to be called Cheese Cash Dash for reasons I've got no idea why. Move page now. I can't get her. Oh, this is probably clicked over by now. So if you're just wondering why you've gone 6 minutes into a video of some guy who seems to be just talking to a far off spot in the distance about songs you've got no idea. My name is Paul Murphy. Hello. And I have a new lyric and poetry and prose anthology just coming out now on Amazon and other bookshops, but the other bookshops are supplied by Amazon. So it is called Any Last Words, and what I'm doing here is I'm just making a little promo piece to talk about the works inside it. And I'm now up to page 50, I think. I'm reading off the index here, which is why my eyes keep going over there. I do apologise, it's awfully bad manners, but I don't have an auto cue. I can't get it out of my mind. Well, you know, the title just tells you everything there, you know. It's about the ending of a relationship. One of you's got over it, probably while you were still in the relationship, and broken the news to you, and you're sitting somewhere at some point down the line thinking, I can't get her out of my mind. I Am the Law is a lot of these things you can look them up on YouTube because they're studio or the demo versions have been uploaded as a video. I Am the Law is I think a 1 minute 24-second punk song that I wrote in '96, I think. And it doesn't read very well on the page, but if you go to YouTube and find the video and then read it without I am the law, I am the law, I am the law, can you hear me? And I was kind of an old man when I wrote that in stage performing terms, which is a strange thing to say considering that I was still playing on stage 20 years after the fact. I'd be on stage tonight if I didn't have this damn disease. And I was thinking about just coming back off of it then. I got into a relationship with someone in about 83 that lasted till about 86, I think. I'm just about to cough, I'm so sorry about this. And it's the first time I've been in a relationship and it didn't work out well. And I did not behave well in it. By which I just didn't... I don't think I even ever realised it was in a relationship, you know. I don't want to get self-analytical about it because, you know, I do stuff. If it hurts me, I write a song about it and then I'm on, you know. But anyway, Sue, if you're out there, peace and love. I'm sorry. You're a wonderful, wonderful lady. But I've been virtually a hobo. Not even my adult life. I mean, I left home when I was 15. My mother throwing me out of the house being a slight hint that she didn't want me around. And, I mean, that happened like a zillion times. God, she was so crazy. I mean, you know, who knew the words bipolar in 1973, 74 or something like, you know. Well, who knew the words bipolar at 10 years old or whatever, you know. Anyway, and this time I didn't go back. There would always be a thing of this power play. Of you'd be out, and after a few hours and stuff, you go around and please, can I go out? You hadn't done anything wrong, or you hadn't got the fire going or something, at 8 years old, or well, older, that must have been about 11, I suppose. I'd have to walk 4 miles home from school and get the fire lit in the winter for them when they came home from work. Jeez, you had a window of opportunity before they walked in the door and started guzzling down the booze, and if everything wasn't done, you finished if you hadn't got the dinner on and the fire lit and everything. Never mind your homework or anything like that. Then you had that window of opportunity before the drinks got stuck inside them to get it finished. Otherwise, just look at it, They weren't well, I guess that's what you can say then, gloss over it. What was I talking about then? I've gone off on my parents there somewhere, haven't I? What song was I talking about? Oh yeah, I was talking about Sue, wasn't I? Yeah. But this time I never went home, and I hitchhiked to Taunton, where there's an Army Careers office, and took the tests and passed, I mean, it was excruciating. The tests were just endless, What's your name? Paul Murphy. You're in. And I mean, if I'd said, Mr. Albert Snogbladder, and what do you do? Oh, I'm a penguin tickler to the stars. They'd have put you in and stuff. Yeah, I left the army, and I was homeless then when I left the army, and as per the previous talks here, I was sleeping rough, supporting myself playing the guitar, doing odd jobs. I always used to try and get jobs in all-night cafes because you'd be warm, and then you could sleep in the library during the day. And, none of the sheltering in bus shelters and stuff, and being preyed on by vultures and everything. But, the army training came in handy then, yeah, I need to fast forward this. Anyway, after the relationship broke down, that hobo mentality, I just went out playing the guitar again, and, and have, yeah, quite a hedonistic lifestyle, I suppose. Well, at 93, and I'm getting a bit old for this now. I got a day job at that point, which paid well. It paid a lot more than my employer knew it paid me. But I kept them out of bankruptcy in 91, and well, there's a story for another day. I got a home recording set up at the time, and I was making. I was more, because I was so prolific. I used to sell a lot of songs to bands. Bands used to seek me out, as it were, and stuff when I was playing. Because they always knew that I had so much material, and more than I could use myself. I mean, you'd be on multi-bill acts and stuff, so you're playing 4 songs. Or if I'm doing one of my 20-minute songs, 1 song. If I'm doing one of my 30-minute songs, half a song. Come back tomorrow night and I'll finish the last 7 verses. That actually happened. I did play Lady Helen in concert one night. I ran out of time on my set because the song lasts 24 minutes. Lady Helen, you're the last star. Anyway, yeah, so I was bouncing songs down, and I had cassette tapes in Neil's days, of course, and so I would put songs down onto cassette tapes, and I was still writing punkier numbers and everything because I just like that stuff. I just like loud, fast guitars. If you watch my YouTube channel now, where it's all acoustic-y love songs and stuff like that, although if you've seen, some of my, Welcome to the 90s Urban Paranoia, We're Gonna Give Them Hell, I can, even if I was just an acoustic night and there were 7 of you in a band, not too many wanted to follow me on stage. And not just because I had a hideous body odor problem. And they all, well, I need to speed this up a little bit. So, but this is the early to mid 90s, Stock Aitken and Waterman era and kind of thing. and or the tail end of it and stuff, people got their haircuts done before they learn to play their instruments and stuff like that, and their baggy trousers or whatever. Nothing wrong in that. Every generation does that, and the preceding musical generation goes, wasn't like that in my day. Elvis was probably, the most uniquest and that he took. Although if I was Little Richard, I would be really cheesed off with with Elvis and stuff, but musicians know which way it goes. Little Richard used to tell a great anecdote, the great Little Richard. I probably got this the wrong way round, but he said, the Beatles stole my music, Elvis stole my hair, and I'm pretty damn certain Chuck Berry stole my watch. Speed it up, my friend. Come on here. Yeah, so I was working with this guy called Peter Nicholson. Hi, Peter. Peter, you're probably not around anymore, are you? I would hope you are. You're a lovely human being. And he had a young son, and who was just starting his first band. And so he said to me, have you got any songs, Paul? So I had some tapes, audio tapes, and these cassette tapes, demo tapes I'd make up, that I would bounce down my home demos, 4 tracks and 2 tracks and stuff. But the punk one I had in the car, because I just used to like to listen to it, as I drove along, just me there screaming my head off with whatever it might be. And I gave him the wrong tape. I thought he would, I meant to give him a tape with some songs, catchy stuff with catchy choruses on and everything like that. And it went hey, hey, and a nanny nanny no, hey, hey, and a nanny nanny no, hey, hey, and a nanny nanny no, and now it's time for us to go. Love you so, bum bum. You're singing it now, aren't you? And he came in the room and I said, I love that song, they were playing it all night. And so that just let me know that, I was still connected to that kind of underground kind of a thing there. And that bought me an extra 20 years on stage, because I always used to tell a joke at that point that I didn't want to go on to the point where I would be a Paul Murphy tribute act, who's that fat bloke there, looks a bit like Paul Murphy, singing back the version of Paul Murphy songs, and because when I was 19, 20, 21, starting out, and you go to an open mic night and there'd be some guy there. I mean, it sounds awfully prejudicial, but it's just the natural attack defense mechanism of youth. And there'd be some guy there, I'm not going to mention his name, I can see him in my head now, maybe 35. I mean, he didn't sing very well, but he was enjoying himself, so what the heck, we're all there, post-punk and everything, and Steve was still a punk, with his spiky Mohican and everything ready to go on. What's he doing here? Oh, not that thing again, God, his embarrassment, if he comes off and looks at us, I'm going to die, kind of thing. My son actually called me the other day on the telephone. He was off school. He's 10. And I'd just been doing some electric versions of Maybe Tomorrow. And I said, Dylan, what are you doing? I'm off sick, Daddy. I'm off school. I'm not very well again. And I said, what you doing? I'm playing computer games. I said, I didn't want to do something, mate. If nothing else, just get a book and I'll read you a book, do something. But and at some point in the conversation, he said, are you 60, Daddy? And I said, no, I'm 61. You're 61? He said, you're like a granddad. I said, well, no. I said, to be a granddad, Dylan, I said, you would need to have children. And I said, you're only 10, otherwise, But the thing was, I just cut this video of me screaming out Maybe Tomorrow on an electric guitar. And I thought, well, if you're doing this at 61 years old, good on you, son, because, because you could turn the numbers around, I'm still 16 there, really, So that's I Am the Law. I never really played it too much. It was just a little thing on stage. It came from a riff that I used to do in between numbers on stage, just to warm the fingers up and everything. And I just want to pick up the guitar and go into it now, but I'm not going to. What's the next one down? Oh, Closure. Okay, Closure. Closure I wrote in 1980, and my father died in 1980. Make of those two pieces of information what you will. Please Be Part of Me Again was originally called Be Mine. It was called Be Mine Part 2, actually. No one, when I wrote that song, thought anything of it. Well, they all liked it's got a really nasty, there's a really nice chorus in it, which I probably can't remember. I think it's got about 5 chords in it. Please be mine, please be mine, be mine, be mine. And and then, 40 years later, someone looks at the word misogyny and thesaurus, and all of a sudden the internet's been invented and everything. But, so, I mean, I think She Belongs to Me by Bob Dylan is perhaps, direct thine ire there forward first kind of thing, not to put Bob Dylan there. That song was originally called Dime Store Blues. And, I think he just, because the words don't appear anywhere in it, I think he was just searching for a title there, and that's, for reasons that came up to him, and that's how it happens. I know that so many times. But it takes me longer to think of a title for a song than it does to write the title normally. And so I'd written the lyrics out, and it was on the piece of paper, and I couldn't think of a title for it. But it starts in B minor, although it's played in major keys, and the chorus in major keys, it's got this. Down to the A, and it goes off like that. So I just written B minor. So it's called B mine, just as a little in joke to myself, because the root key is B minor. Lost. Lost was originally called the 5th of the 8th of 1987, so I guess that's the day it was written, and it's a story about a guy who's really, really, really at the end of the line, really at the end of the line. Harp. Yeah, that's a nice little bluesy number, that. I can't really tell you too much about Harp because, again, it was written in a more parabalism format that I used to do. And I'm going to run out of, I need to speed this up. I'm looking at the clock there and we've already hit 1 hour. So that means I've only got about another 6 minutes of this file left to go. All right, so 4H. The H was, the lady's name begins with H. I should point out that I've known some absolutely amazing, stunningly beautiful, phenomenally intelligent, marvellously personalitied, creative, artistic, loving, kind ladies whose names began with the letter H. Hard Man, oh, that was a punk song there. That was a punk song. I wrote that in 1982. Again, that took some flack for that over the years, but was it E? It's Saturday night. Gonna go into the disco band. I need a plectrum. Sorry, that was a shouter. That was. I'm gonna go and go to Saturday night. I'm not used to playing. I'll tell you. You've got a rough idea what it's like. Hard man, yeah. I'm a hard man, yeah. I'm a hard man, yeah. Take a look. That was about chard. The second line used to be, I'm a chard man. Because I grew up in a town where, I mean, everyone's got tattoos. In this day and age, even babies have got tattoos now. But in those days, people had tattoos and that was a sign of, I know I've got them myself. I was stupid myself at some point. I was just trying to fit in to a bad crowd that I was hanging around. I was glad to get out of it. It was just, cliche people, but only in reality, they would get drunk and they would knock their girlfriends about, and you couldn't walk down Chard High Street early. Like I said, I was homeless, so I was in Wincham, and I would walk from Wincham into, I'm mourning it now, here I am, almost paralysed, leg paralysed, and I can't walk upstairs, and the streets of the high streets of Chard would be, what can one call it, pavement pizza, pigeon food, whatever you want to call it, and blood, torn clothes, and smashed bottles, and everything, And Chard was a very violent place to grow up in. It had a reputation at one point of being, per head, the second most violent place in the United Kingdom. The first was, I don't know, the Govan in Glasgow or something like that. It was just awful, and stuff. They used to come down to the squat, and they would just be in there. They would come in there late at night. They'd just come in and they just steal everything you had, even though you had nothing, and smash everything up. And it was like a plague, So I wrote that song about those kind of people because they revelled in it, they glorified in their bad reputations, kind of thing. The I in it is not I, I'm writing as them, and their glory. I'm writing a diatribe against it, I'm writing I don't get, too up my own armpits about it, but I'm writing a scathing social critique of what they're doing. It's like the poet Arthur Rimbaud said, I is another, but people will always sometimes put that on you and stuff. And as I was saying, if I wrote Don't Tell Me You Could Change, which is a song written as a woman to her abusive husband, I'm plainly not the woman, so, and I'm not going to take any more of your blows, da da da. So sometimes you write I as yourself, and sometimes you write I as the person you're telling their story for them. Watch the Phoenix Rising. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about that one. In fact, I'm not going to talk about it too much more because I see that the camera film is coming to an end here. Okay, We All Have. That's an interesting little love song. And Yesterday's Never Far Away. Screen to go that. Admission of Guilt #2. There's an old American folk song called The Twa Sisters. Probably originates from Scotland, actually, and then was transported over to there. I think Bob Dylan sang it on the 1960 Minneapolis tape, and that's kind of my version of it. It's a song about, there's a guy singing to two sisters. I do apologise to someone, but I apologise, okay? What do you plan to do? Yeah, that was someone who was in a bad relationship. And the song is taken from a conversation. So it's, well, what are you going to do, though? And they say, well, I'm not going to do nothing. Well, you can't stay like this, So let's make a plan. Let's make a plan. And if I can guide you at all, what do you plan to do? Well, maybe he'll change it. No, he's not going to change. Because I Loved You again, 1982. Looking at some of these early songs, and there's a kind of naivety about them, but you only say that now, 40 years later, when you're writing Lady Helen or Fair Angel of Sherborne, or End Move, or Dust and Sand, or some, these epics, the kind of thing, any song that goes over 25 minutes, I guess you're going to call an epic, but they're quite good. They're songs as songs. I can see my Beatles roots showing in them, kind of thing. My 1973 love of 1973 pop songs, because although I'm known for this biting social commentary and everything, and also for this, sort of upbeat, sort of punky material, the two of the first three singles. I can't tell you what the third one was, because the guy has got a bad reputation now. I mean, Street Life by Roxy Music. Wish everybody would leave me alone, yeah. And My Cuckoo by Alvin Silas. Cuckoo, I just wanted you. I can still sing it, you know, John Lennon when he was making the rock and roll album, and he said I didn't need the lyric sheets, I could just sing them all. And I'm the same with all those. It's just my jealous mind. Mud, that's right. The cat crept in, and of course the great Bowie towering above it all. Of course, at the time we just thought it was all Bowie, and then we start playing guitars and making records and songs, and we go, it was all Mick Ronson. Joan Baez said it on stage in 1975 on the US tour, when Ronson was blowing everyone off stage, including Bob Dylan, so much so that on the 76 tour, Dylan left him in the bus and wouldn't have him on stage. There aren't too many people I would be afraid to share a stage with if I wanted the spotlight, but Mick Ronson would be one of them. And the other one is the great Ray Cooper. The two people I would never want to follow on stage. I'm pretty fearless. I'm pretty, you know, whatever, self-confident, arrogant, whatever you want to put. I would not like to follow Freddie Mercury, and I would not like to follow Ray Cooper on stage. And but anyone else I'll take on. When Love Is Lost, yeah. Well, again, it's in the title. You know, it's a heartbreak song. Because I loved you. Did I do that one? Because I loved you, but you didn't love me, and I wanted you. But you didn't want me, and I needed you. But you didn't need me, and I cared so much for you, but you didn't care for me, and I loved you so much that it hurt, and I wanted you so much that it hurt, and I cared for you so much that it hurt. I thought about it, which is the closest I've come to singing it in 40 years. I've really done Another Longest Day. Yeah, I'd need to look at the lyrics of that. Burning Dust. That's a semi-protest song. You might not get that. And looked at it for 2 or 3 times. A lot of this stuff will look as though it's all relationship based. And that is true. But Burning Dust tells you about the relationship. But it's concentric circles. So you're looking at that bit there, the microcosm, the guy's talking about that. And then on the wider outside, because more relationships break up from external forces that you don't notice than internal forces that you do notice. But you know what it's like about hurricanes, you know, when you're in the middle of them, you know, everyone can see it's a cyclone and stuff, but you can't, you're in the centre of it. What kind of friend were you? If you know Bob Dylan's Positively 4th Street, then you'll know that. It was me, I was writing it to someone directly for what they'd done to me, but as ever, I tend to get the genesis of a song. If I'm writing about me, it's a genesis of this, but you can't write 7 minutes about yourself, you know. Well, you can do, I suppose, if it lasted 7 minutes. I don't analyse it enough to. But then it goes out wider and stuff. So you know, so if someone slighted you in any way, you can write about that, but that might take you 2 verses. Okay, well, you're still 3 verses shy. And then but it's giving you the impetus. And you think, oh, actually, I remember so and so. That happened to him. But what about? And I know what happened to her. And how dare you treat her like that? And so it goes out like that, you know. It came off the back of a line in I didn't want you caught by rumour mongers whose hearts are full of evil deeds. My song, I Want to Show You What Love Really Means, and there's that line in there, and so that line begat that song there. Betty's melody is similar to a previous song. Yeah, some of these are the full versions. When I played live, I would take verses out and some of the previously. So 2 of them are previously published, but not in their full form. Pretty Realities, famously, one of my better known works, has got 4 verses. I only ever sang 4 verses live, And if you catch any of the live versions of me, there's 2 videos of me singing it live, as far as I know, circulating online. But the song as written had 6 verses. And then I just realised that I haven't put the page number down for The Poet Has Left the Building. Okay, so the book isn't quite finished. The Poet Has Left the Building, my final song, written yesterday. The great Wilco Johnson died. Dr. Feelgood, guitarist, injury guitarist, stargazer, heart of a poet. And I was thinking about him because he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He was told he had pancreatic cancer. And, you know, just to put his affairs in order, and he lived for another 15 years because they'd made a mistake. And I thought about him dying 15 years after he'd been told he'd got just a few months left. And then 15 months ago I was told that I just had a minor neurological illness and that I would most likely improve. And 15 months later I'm dying, and the last call I had from the neurology unit, which was 2 Mondays ago, said, don't skimp on the painkillers now, because... So I juxtaposed those 2 stories, and I thought there's 2 poets leaving the building. You can get where it comes from. Elvis has left the building, yeah. And so that's my version of my way. But again, it's not confined, You could take that song, and I hope they haven't, but if one of your parents has just passed away, or your best friend, you could use that as the eulogy for them. And that is, over these 2 videos here, all the entries in my book. Any last words? I'm sure it finishes on a downer, but hey, I hope I've entertained you for 60 minutes. Getting here. You've been extraordinarily generous for your time, and I am truly, truly, truly grateful to you. If we never do it again, it was great for me. Bless you all. Hug your children every chance you get.